They say hospitals save lives, but some keep the dead. Sometimes a soul never leaves the last place it waited. And sometimes it waits for you. Emily Carter was 28, a quiet woman who liked her routines. After being laid off from her receptionist job, she took the first night security position she could find at St. Agnes Memorial Hospital. St. Agnes had been shut down for 9 years. The official story was that a fire in the East Wing had forced its closure. But locals whispered about strange deaths, missing patients, and shadows in the halls long before the fire. Emily's job was simple: patrol every hour, check the monitors in the security office, and make sure no trespassers slipped inside. The pay was low. The hours were lonely. But she thought it would be easy. The building itself felt wrong. The air inside was always a few degrees colder than outside, even in the middle of summer, and every step she took seemed to echo too far, as though the corridors were much longer then. The first 2 nights passed without incident, until Emily noticed camera 4. It monitored the old main waiting room, a square, beige-tiled space with rows of plastic chairs bolted to the floor, and a reception desk that still held faded patient forms and a dusty jar of pens. At 3:12 a.m., the feed from camera 4 began to flicker. Emily leaned closer to the monitor. A figure sat in one of the chairs, a woman, head bowed, hands folded neatly in her lap. She wore a faded blue hospital gown. Her hair hung long and dark, hiding her face. Emily's heart skipped. There should have been no one in the building. Grabbing her flashlight, she walked the hall toward the waiting room. The silence was oppressive. Not just the absence of sound, but a presence in itself, pressing against her ears. When she reached the room, it was empty. The only sign that anything had been there was one chair, slightly pulled out, its seat warm to the touch. Back in the security office, Emily rewound the footage. The woman sat motionless until, in the last few seconds, she slowly raised her head. The grainy black and white feed showed her face, pale, thin, lips slightly parted. She turned her head and looked directly into the camera. Emily froze. The woman's mouth began to move, forming words, but there was no sound. Emily turned the volume all the way up. Through the static, she heard the faintest whisper, "Emily, come sit." Her skin prickled. No one had called her by name that night. The next night, she told herself it had been a trick of the light, a leftover patient file with her name that she had forgotten seeing. But at 3:12 a.m., the woman was back. This time, she was closer to the camera. The flicker of the feed made her seem to jerk forward in unnatural, stuttering movements. The folds of her gown swayed gently, as though she were breathing slowly or rocking back and forth. Then, without warning, she stood. Step by step, she walked toward the lens. Each time the screen glitched, she was closer, until her face filled the frame. Her eyes were black pits, her mouth stretched too wide. The feed went dead. From somewhere in the hall behind her, Emily heard the sound of plastic chairs dragging across tile. Emily checked the room. All the chairs were lined up neatly, except for one. It was pulled out again, facing slightly toward the doorway, as if waiting for her. Over the following nights, more changes appeared. The dust on the chairs disturbed, as though someone had been sitting in each one. A faint smell of antiseptic and burnt paper lingering in the air. The clock on the wall, dead for years, ticking again at exactly 3:12 a.m. Emily began to feel watched, even when she wasn't in the waiting room. Sometimes, as she passed doorways, she'd see a glimpse of pale blue fabric just slipping out of sight. On her 7th shift, Emily decided she couldn't keep doing this. She planned to leave at sunrise and never come back. But at 3:12 a.m., something inside her felt pulled. Without fully realizing, She was walking toward the waiting room. The hallway seemed longer now, stretching far beyond its usual length. The lights overhead buzzed and dimmed. When she stepped into the room, the woman was there, sitting in the same chair as the first night. Emily's heart pounded, but her legs moved on their own. She sat in the empty chair beside her. The woman turned her head, revealing skin that looked thin and damp, like paper left in water. Her lips brushed Emily's ear. "Your turn." Emily's vision blurred. Her body felt heavy. She heard her own voice, distant, mechanical, say, "Please take a seat. The doctor will see you shortly." A week later, the new night guard arrived for his first shift. He noticed camera 4 flickering at exactly 3:12 a.m. On the screen, 2 women sat side by side in the waiting room. One in a blue hospital gown, and one in a black security uniform, head bowed, hands folded neatly in her lap.